Parents are expected to be positive influences and serve as role models for their children. However, what happens when these parents turn out to be malevolent? We'll delve into some instances where such parents realize they've been exposed.
262 dispatch. This is gonna be what? Stop! 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 Oh, shit.
What, is she getting arrested?
You both are getting arrested, so get your kid dressed.
For what?
Child neglect.
Why?
Come on. What do you mean, why?
It's okay. Please, we're here to help, okay? We're here to help.
Oh, wait. No, wait.
No, it's okay.
No, wait.
One notable case involves Yahaira Tirado, 28, and Jacob Kruger, 25, who in 2019 had a police officer approach them regarding their 2-year-old child found walking alone in a busy street.
They were walking in the road?
Yes, his face. He actually...
Oh, I know where it is. I think I'm pretty sure I know which one. He's from that one right there.
Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure.
I hope so.
Hey, buddy.
While driving in Florida, 2 women discovered a small child covered in bedbugs with a dirty diaper wandering without parental supervision. The police officer quickly identified the child, indicating prior encounters with these parents due to neglect.
And your son today was in the street walking out on US 1, and luckily some nice ladies saw him and stopped before he got smushed by a friggin' car.
Upon receiving no response at the parents' residence, the officer questioned the woman about the situation. As he gathered details, he recollected a similar incident in 2018 where the parents were arrested for leaving their 1-year-old and 2-year-old home alone.
Valencia County mom is facing child abuse charges, accused of leaving her very young kids at home alone and making sure they wouldn't go anywhere.
When the officer finally engaged with the parents after a 30-minute delay, they appeared fatigued and ashamed.
You know, what were you guys doing in there?
We were just sleeping.
Just sleeping?
Yeah.
Can we get him a new diaper on?
Recognizing the parents' lack of attention to the child, the officers decided to involve the Department of Children and Families to ensure the child's safety.
Is this the same kid or a different one?
No, it's the same kid. It's the same kid that called us last time. He's got a younger sister, I think. She's with the grandparents. So we're going to need to call DCF.
Despite being arrested, the parents seemed more concerned about their legal troubles than the child found wandering in a busy street. Frustrated with the situation, the officer took them to the station. Yahaira Tirado and Jacob Kruger, the child's parents, faced charges of child neglect with a set bond of $5,000.
What, is she getting arrested?
You both are getting arrested, so get your kid dressed.
For what?
Child neglect.
Why?
Come on. What do you mean, why?
However, if you thought this marked the end of malevolent parenting, you haven't heard about the case of this exceedingly disturbed mother. In 2018, Florida law enforcement responded to reports of a woman and her 2 children being on top of a garage ledge. Upon entering the woman's residence, the officers reached the ledge where she was located.
We're here to help.
Oh, wait. No, wait.
No, it's okay.
No, wait. No, wait. You're not a real one. I want to see your badge.
Right here.
However, once on the ledge, the woman questioned the authority of the police officers, displaying signs of hallucination as noted in the report. Despite the police officer's plea for her to bring her children inside, she adamantly refused.
I want to see your badge.
Okay, here.
I want to see your badge.
Let me show you. It's okay. Look.
I want to see your badge.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, real.
No, really. Let me see.
Yeah, right here.
Attempts by the officer to physically intervene and bring the woman and her children inside were met with continuous screams from the mother, who grabbed a phone, expressing fear that someone was going to harm her.
Point blank? Point blank? Body adventure? No! Point blank! Body adventure! Grab the phone! Grab the phone! Grab the phone!
In reality, she was causing distress not only to the officers, but also to her 2 children, who were eventually safely brought back into the home.
Come here, buddy. You all right, buddy? Come here, buddy. You all right, buddy?
Subsequently, the mother was committed to a mental health facility under the Baker Act, a Florida law that allows for emergency mental health services and temporary detention for individuals impaired due to mental illness.
Kids were
soon brought inside to safety and are now in custody with the Department of Children and Families. The mom was taken to a mental health facility.
The Florida Department of Children and Families initiated an investigation into the situation, resulting in the children being placed in their custody. If you thought this case was troubling, consider the situation involving Tempest Isom, a case where playing games was not an option. In 2023, a mother, accompanied by her 5-year-old in the backseat, was pulled over for multiple motor vehicle violations. However, when the officers approached her window, they were unprepared for what unfolded next.
I really can't breathe. I'm
scared.
scared.
You can breathe.
I watched video. No, I really didn't. Can I please catch my breath? They're caught in that car.
Upon the officer's approach, the woman began speaking rapidly, detailing how her ex-boyfriend had repeatedly struck her car, leaving it in a less than optimal condition, and explaining her violations.
He hit my car. I called the police station. The guy told me to bring him to 225. He hit my car. He been hitting it with 4 ways and everything. I just need my car.
Despite explaining her situation, the mother made a questionable decision that escalated matters. She chose to drive away from the officer, turning a routine stop into a police chase.
262 dispatch. This is gonna be what? Stop! 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 Oh, shit. We're passing Regal. There's a child in the backseat.
Within moments of fleeing, she crashed her vehicle with her child in the back seat.
Don't let go of the baby. Don't let go of the baby. Don't let go of the baby. Just put him in the car. Put him in the car.
Instead of checking on her child, she exited the car and attempted to flee on foot.
Why are you running? Because I'm scared. Scared of what? Why are you running? I can tell you. All right, we're gonna get in the car and we're gonna figure this out. All right.
Swiftly apprehending her, the officers arrested Tempest. They also managed to safely remove the child from the crashed vehicle. However, the ordeal did not end there. After placing the mother in one of the officers' vehicles, she proceeded to explain to the officer her reasons for running and leaving her child in the crashed car.
I will tell you. Listen, I ain't the one. So whatever tricks you trying to pull right now, it ain't gonna fucking work. You understand me? Yes. All right.
Tempest Isom faced charges including aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, eluding, endangering the welfare of a child, and numerous motor vehicle violations. If you like this video, click the next one shown on the screen. I'm sure you'll like it. Thanks for watching.